Hi, Kurt. Welcome to the Playing Away from Home podcast. Nice to see you again. We spoke a few years ago. I think it was 2020 when we last chatted on camera anyway, or more of a written article. How's things?
Yeah, things are good. Thank you for having me back on. It's been a while. The world has returned to some sort of normality, which is it's good to be speaking to you in these circumstances.
Definitely, yeah, definitely a more of a normal situation we find ourselves in. So yeah, last time we spoke, obviously, it was a published article as opposed to one of these video recordings, but we briefly spoke at the time about your career, obviously your Scottish background, and then it led up to a stage that had taken you abroad for a coaching opportunity, but there were a few other opportunities involved in there as well when you'd spent some time abroad. Do you want to just give a recap to those who did read the article at the time, but also an intro to anyone who's fresh to Kurt Hurd and on sort of your Scottish upbringing in terms of football and how that first led to a few opportunities abroad?
Yeah, of course. So I mean, very, very typical upbringing. In Scotland, it's a football crazy family. It was every Saturday would be spent watching the football with my grandfather, my uncle, my dad, and then the Sundays would be spent me playing and those guys cheering me on from the side. And that was sort of every weekend that I could remember as a child growing up, and that sort of fueled me to. Everybody wants to be a football player when they're young, and then you hit a reality where I'm maybe not going to do this, not professionally anyway. So I decided to go down the coaching route. Go through my badges at an early age and just try and interact, try and do club visits, study visits, and just try and get myself ahead and really just try and understand what was required to have a career in coaching. So yeah, just went down that route, coaching young players at the start. In at Dundee United, I did some stuff with box soccer schools. I was there for a few years, and as all that sort of progressed, I dipped in and out of senior football, if you will, semi-professional football with assistant manager roles and coach roles, which was great for me to then go and work with senior players coming out of the professional game at such a young age. Was a great experience, and it just sort of fueled it. It really fueled me to want to go and kick on and push on in my career. And I was very grateful just before we sort of had our first interview. I was approached to move to Malaysia and Southeast Asia. I'd been to Australia. I'd worked in Australia when I was younger, 18 years old. I moved over to Australia, Sweden and things like that. But Southeast Asia was a new one for me, and I thought, that's a really interesting opportunity. So, I'd moved. I think I was only in Malaysia a couple of months when we spoke last in my role with FC Kuala Lumpur, and working as a youth coach there. Unfortunately, lockdown and being so far from home, I was accepted onto the UEFA A license, which was online. But as the UK opened up and Malaysia stayed closed, I was required to go back for that. However, I wasn't allowed to fly back into Malaysia after that. So I had to make a decision, and I chose to go home and finish off the A license. And that's, a few roles after that back home. I find myself back in Malaysia now. So a whirlwind tour of Kurt Hurd's career to date.
Definitely. So I suppose, yeah, like you said, when we last spoke, it was a bit of a huge pause for the world, and you found yourself in a completely different environment. Just a few questions, I suppose. How was it? Because you still spent some time in Malaysia, didn't you, when it was all happening, and even though football wasn't really going ahead, how was life in COVID conditions over there, really?
Yeah, tough. It was really tough. I had my nieces and nephews back home. Really young family back home, so it was tough to be away from them. It was tough to be here on my own. Even my friends and stuff I had here, they were with their family, and here it was when you hear lockdown, this was a lockdown. This was a real shut the doors kind of thing, and yeah, really isolated. It was really, really tough. I did stick out, like I say, for as long as I could, because I loved life here in the 3 months I had prior to COVID. I loved life, and I could see the potential for a great life here, and I could see the potential to change football in this part of the world as well. So I did stick out, but like I said, when the A license, when the UK moved back to being more open, and the A license was on field, and I was required to be there, then unfortunately, I just had to call time.
On the short time that you did have when you could get on the pitch and actually get some football and coach the team, what was your experience, and how did you find it was different to what you were used to? I remember we did touch upon a few stories in the past where it wasn't necessarily the people and the players that were getting in the way, but some other animals perhaps instead. Do you want to just recall those stories?
Yeah, of course. Still remember fondly watching the monkeys run across the field. Yeah, that was no. The big difference here for me, and where I'm, and now in my role now, and what I'm trying to do and really encourage is that there's no education for coaches and players with regards to rest recovery, with regards to training load, with regards to nutrition. And it's a real, it creates a real difficult environment, especially when you are working in an athletic, and you're looking to work in an elite sporting environment. Those things are essential, and it's through no fault of anybody else. But for me, there's just no education here with regards to that, which at that time, for me coming over caused I couldn't, I was trying to get my head around it. It's something now that I can manage, but at the time it was a real eye opener for me. And then you've also got the incredible mix of cultures and races here, which is unbelievable. It's amazing to be part of, and to live in. We have Ramadan, Deepa Valley, all these religious festivals and holidays, and you really get an understanding of the social culture, and how to approach people and certain things. There's maybe a sort of maybe a one shoe fits all sort of approach to things back home, whereas you can't really take that approach here, which has been fantastic for me.
Yeah, so I suppose it's a huge learning curve, isn't it, on and off the pitch for you. So I think, for a coach and someone in a relatively young age in terms of coaching in football, you've already got an experience of so many different environments already. And do you feel that helps you adapt quite easily when you do step into a new club, and there might be numerous different nationalities and backgrounds in there, but you've almost got a good understanding of how to approach those situations?
Yeah, I'll often sit here and moan certain things, certain situations and things like that. But the reality is that these things are a blessing for me, because now you could throw the kitchen sink at me, and I've dealt with it before. I've seen it before. I know how to handle these situations, or and I think I discussed last time with yourself sort of my complete ignorance to things like the fasting month, Ramadan, and how I'd had Muslim players and worked with Muslim coaches back home in the UK, and I was just completely ignorant and oblivious to what they go through that month, and what they sacrifice, and and how that affects their day to day. And so again, things like that have really been great for my development as not just as a coach, as a person. I feel like I've developed so much as a person since not just living here but living overseas. It's been incredible. These things you're forced into social situations as well. You're over here on your own. It's sink or swim. You want to make friends. You can't just sit here and they won't come to you. You need to go make things happen. And again, that's it's great as a person. Fantastic. It really develops you.
And then obviously you mentioned already there was an opportunity to go back to Scotland and help work towards your A license. Tell us a bit about that. Was it obviously you already be under your belt? Was there anyone of note on your course, or was it led by anyone that we may recognise?
Yeah, so the A license, the A license was really, really good actually. There's a couple of extremely good coaches, and that's what I enjoy about this. I know you always get the professional players. You always get the the expos, the ex-internationals that come onto these courses, and that's fantastic and it's brilliant. But I think some of the best coaches are the ones that haven't played the game, because if I take myself for example, now at 31, I'm sitting here with almost 14, 15 years experience of being on the field every day, coaching. So all that experience, it really does. So there were some fantastic coaches on these licenses, and they've been a pleasure to mix with. And I think that's the best thing about these coach education courses, is the people that you meet on these, and what you take from them is fantastic. But going through the A license was incredible, and that sort of gave me an opportunity to also complete my coach educator award with the SFA after that, to allow me to now develop coaches through their badges with my experience, which again, it's been fantastic.
And do you find that the internationals and players coming onto the course, and then compared to people like yourself who have just had a predominantly coaching background already, do you find they have different approaches to the course, and they come with like different ideas and methods, and can you almost like tell a difference between the two?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I think certainly, when you go in the field, there's definitely, these guys can talk and understand the game, and they can understand the why, and they can understand they're great on the field with delivering a tactical sort of breakdown, or giving you the reasoning why this should happen, or putting game situations into. But I feel overall, in terms of the coaching, in terms of the putting across the personality, all these types of things, I feel like the coaches that have got the experience are far better with that. Putting together a session, integrating all the the technical components into the game. And I think that these guys, from my experience, what I see and what I feel, is that these guys are really good at breaking the game down, because they understand that's their bread and butter. They've done that every day on the field with X amount of coaches, and so I mean, I feel like they're good at that, but I feel like the other coaches certainly bring another skill set that I certainly value.
I suppose it's a good blend, isn't it? And it gives you the chance to pick up ideas from each other as well. Whilst you were doing this course, was there opportunities to get stuck back in with coaching as well whilst you were in Scotland?
Yeah, so I had to make the decision to leave Malaysia, and leave my role. So I was unemployed. So I very much had to get myself busy on the job search, and I managed to find a few roles. I went in at Livingston, where I worked with the U16s, U17s. That was fantastic. It was a great experience. It was something that Livingston were hoping to get into Europe that year, but to play in Europe, you have to have an academy. So they brought together this academy, and we were the ones that started that. So again, we talk about experiences and things that are tough, and we bemoan certain situations, and in that situation there were certain things that weren't. For example, we may look at equipment or organization or infrastructure. Those things weren't there, but it was a fantastic learning experience for me to be involved there. And there were so many things that were fantastic about that as well. I loved my time there. The players and the coaches were incredible. It just the travel from Dundee just took its toll on me. That was an evening and weekends kind of thing. Every weekend, and the travel just took its toll, unfortunately. So I went back in. I was at Dundee United in the academy there for a short spell, working doing sort of position and individual stuff for a brief while, and I sort of dipped in and out of the senior game again as assistant manager. I went in at Pennycook Athletic with David Hanna to be the assistant manager there. And again, we talk about, you know, taking the good things from the bad. There was a few things that went on there behind the scenes, which I won't go into, but it was a real learning experience for me. And working under a guy like David Hanna, who had the playing career, the managerial and coaching career that he's had, for me to learn from him was fantastic. So I really, really enjoyed that. And then it was a case of, you know, I went into a grassroots club as player and coach development officer at Dundee West. I was in there for 18 months, 2 years almost. And yeah, the call came. It was a crazy turn of events. I came over here for a wedding. And whilst here for a wedding, I got a call. You know, I was putting online that I was learning Spanish. I was doing all these, you know, and somebody picked up on it, and somebody asked to meet me whilst I was here. Say, look, we've got this Villarreal Academy. We are looking to hire a technical director because we feel like that's the next logical progression for this. You know, you've worked in Malaysia, you understand the sporting and social culture. You know, we can almost flog you as a Spanish coach if you use the tongue, and you know, we think it should be good. So yeah, we had a talk. We agreed on terms, and it was such a quick turnaround. You know, I was over here within a month, I think, of that. Flew over to Spain. I met the guys in Spain. I spent a week with the club. An absolutely incredible football club. A beautiful city, fantastic people. The things they're doing with the size of their surroundings is incredible. So I had a week there, and then I flew out to Malaysia and began in earnest. That was in October. So I've been here since October now.
And how did that come about then? You said you'd sort of mentioned and put it out there that you were learning Spanish. Like, who found you? Was it a contact that you'd crossed paths with before, or was it on like LinkedIn? Like, how does it sort of come up?
Yeah, so obviously I was posting things online. You know, I'm learning Spanish. I'm doing this, doing that, and I was actually approached for a role over here in Penang to come and work in Penang. So I spoke to the groom of the wedding, who's actually a director of this football club, and he said, look, if it's a job in Malaysia, you want to come back to Malaysia, then leave it with me. You know, we've actually been talking about this in the background, and I was going to bring it up at some point, not on his wedding day, but he said, yeah, I was hoping to bring this up at some point anyway. But before you left, I was hoping to arrange a meeting with the director. So he's like, let's just put this through. So yeah, we did that. And that's how that came about. So yeah, it's funny, you know. I came over here, and yeah, I was offered a job elsewhere, and from that, really, I landed on my feet here.
And now, obviously, Villarreal, like, fantastic Spanish team. You know, Europa League winners 3 years ago. Fantastic alumni of players, Diego Forlan, Santi Cazorla. I could go on. But then working for them in Malaysia must be very different. Have they established academies elsewhere across the globe? Is it part of their sort of plan to sort of set up little areas here and there, just spreading across the globe?
Yeah, it's interesting actually. So I mean, it's, you know, it's well known that, you know, you can tap yourself into the Asian market, then you're onto a winner, and it's everybody now seems to be trying to find that little gem from you know, Southeast Asia, Asia, wherever that may be. Villarreal it's actually very interesting because in September we are looking to build an Asia Pacific, almost a elite academy, bringing players over from Australia, from Thailand, Philippines, Korea, Kuwait, etc. We're going to bring players over here, hold trials, and then we're going to have an elite program here. So that's where we're at with it at the minute. And there's talks with the club to invest in Southeast Asian football in a professional football club as a feeder club. So there's a lot going on at the minute with that. It's to work at an organisation like Villarreal is incredible. It really is a pinch yourself sort of thing, and I think that's learning from them, and again then adapting it to the sport and social culture here. It's been a challenge, but it's been a fantastic challenge. I've really thrown myself into it, and we're starting to see the rewards of that now.
And I suppose just give us like what's your day-to-day role look like what are your roles and responsibilities whilst you're in Malaysia?
So at the minute, I'm as technical director. There really is a bit of everything, and it really is a 24/7 job. I'm really big at the minute on pushing the coach education. So we're doing weekly coach workshops. We're on the field. I'm engaging with the coaches. I'm running the sessions. I'm giving them the content. When I'm on the field in the evenings, I'm either helping to take training sessions. I'm correcting coaches during things. I'm sometimes just putting out fires and being that face and speaking to the parents or things like that. And when I'm not on the field, it's you're sat behind a laptop trying to put together nutrition booklets, and you're trying to put together a methodology. You're trying to put together analysis documents and stuff that these players can use to aid their learning. But I mean, for me at the minute, and it's an ongoing process. For me, the focus is on coach development. That's where my focus is. If the coaches do their job right, then the players will develop slowly. There's no point for me to come in and go player heavy, because if I go player heavy but the coaches still don't have the tools, then ultimately I'm working into out. So yeah, at the minute everything's really focused on the coaches, meetings with the coaches. We're going through session plans every day, coach workshops on the field, all these types of things, and all the while still trying to maintain relationships with the guys in Spain. We're still trying to organise this event that's coming up. We're still trying to send the players overseas for exposure in tournaments as well. So there's a lot going on. It really is a hectic job. The day to day is it's a 24/7. The weekends are good. Get to go and watch the games. Just keep myself out of the way.
It sounds good. It sounds busy, but in a good way. Could you give us an idea of the scope of the project then? Like how many coaches are currently involved? How many players, and where do you see it growing to? Like, what's the aim?
So I mean, at the minute we've got 600 plus players. So there's and that goes all the way from our elite academy through to our grassroots development program with the soccer schools. We're working with 9 full-time coaches, and we're working with another, 10 part-time coaches. So we've got roughly, in those 600 players, we've got roughly 26, 27 academy teams, all the way from U6 all the way through to a senior first team, which we've just put in place. So they're playing in the senior leagues here, which is exciting. I hope it's something we can really build on. That's where I see this going, is having a pathway where players can go and play beyond 18. There's, for us to cut off at 18, there is no point. We need to show a developmental pathway. So in doing that, we're going to create this senior team, which we have. We're then looking at, with Spain, potentially a first team senior professional club in Southeast Asia, not necessarily in Malaysia, but that that could be in Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, that players can then go to. We then have, Debrecen in Hungary as a feeder club for Villarreal that the players can then go to Europe and then Spain to test their social skills there and their athletic ability. So we're just putting all the building blocks in place. We have the framework. It's just about putting the building blocks in place. For me at the minute, like I say, it's just about creating the right environment with the coaches, hiring the correct coaches, making sure the coaches have the correct tools. They understand the terminology, the methodology. They understand what we're trying to do. And then we can start to look at the bigger picture with this framework. I think September with this elite Asia Pacific team that we're looking to build. There'll be 3 teams at U12, 14, and 16 to start. And I think that will be, that'll be the first sort of building block to go down for the progression.
And all these you mentioned, all the squads and teams that are sort of under the umbrella, are they all called Villarreal? Do they wear the Villarreal kit and all that? Or have you sort of taken over?
Everything's proper. We have the Joma kit from that's used in Spain. We've got everything here. It's a replica of Villarreal in Spain. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. It's a great selling point as well for us. So yeah, all those things that we have really do go a long way. The coaches love it. They've got the official Villarreal coaching gear, and that's actually one thing that I picked up on when I was in Spain. And there's always hierarchy, and there's always egos and things in football. But the one thing I loved when I went to Villarreal, I was walking around the training facilities, and you've got the first team manager walking around in exactly the same outfit as the lady that's taking out the trash. And it was a real sort of everybody's in this together. Nobody's bigger than anybody else, and so our coaches love that. They've got the coaching kit, and when they see the manager on the sideline, or they see the guys in training, and the players have got the same training kit. The coaches have the same training kit. Everybody loves it. Yeah.
And that's why I nipped over to Villarreal myself in March. I went to watch Villarreal against Valencia. Spent a couple of days in Valencia and then nipped over for the game. And it is quite a small area, isn't it? For such a large club from the outside point of view, it's actually quite a condensed part of the country, isn't it? But they're all into the football and they're all very passionate about it. Is it easy to, or has it already been almost like replicated in Malaysia? Is there that much of a close-knit community as well, like happening where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible here. The community, we have parents teams playing social league under the Villarreal, Villarreal banner, and they have the jerseys and everything like that. You go to the games at the weekend, and there's people coming along to watch, and they've all got the Villarreal jerseys. It's fantastic. It really is. I don't take it for granted, all the support from the community. These guys have been brilliant with us, and Villarreal is a very, very unique place, as you will have seen. It really is Villarreal, and and that it's the one thing that has sort of been a challenge is because of the small population, and you've got Valencia there that are just ready to pounce, and Levante, Castellón, and these clubs are big clubs. Villarreal have a bit of a unique methodology and their approach to coaching and their approach to player recruitment and things like that, which I had to take the time to learn, and then I have to try and take the time to apply those in a different culture. But it's the guys from Spain come over all the time. The people here absolutely love the fact they've got a Spanish football club on their doorstep that are training up their the young players. Like I say, you go to the games at the weekend. There's people turning up in Villarreal jerseys, and it's surreal. It's surreal, but it's great.
So I suppose it's having an effect on hopefully the next generation of players from that part of Asia and surrounding areas as well. But do you reckon the club also see it as putting Villarreal on the map in there in terms of growing the fans as well?
Yeah, it's funny because when I speak to some of the guys, maybe on a Sunday I'll be down at the games and we'll speak, and these guys are going, "Oh, I watched the game last night," and you're like, "Oh, the hell, we're playing Celta Vigo. What are you watching that for?" But everybody's, some people come, "Oh yeah, when I play FIFA now, I go Villarreal," and all these types of things, and it's great. It's great. Yeah, I think definitely I mean, I'm no business manager, but I'm sure there's definitely been a considerable boost to the club in having this year, in terms of exposure, but income generation and things as well. 100%.
And are there any other Spanish or European clubs, for that matter, doing a similar sort of project in Malaysia that you're aware of?
No. I mean, there are some dotted around elsewhere in Thailand and places like that, but in Malaysia, it's very much just us, and again, that gives us potential for growth, and that we're looking at expanding from KL now into another state, and again from there, where can we take it? But no, it's very much us. We're on our own in the market here, which is good. It gives us that unique selling point, and it gives me a unique selling point to try and entice coaches over as well, which is good for me.
Yeah, no, it's quite surprising actually that the bigger hitters, like the Madrids and Barcelonas and even the Uniteds and Cities over here haven't quite thought of tapping in. I suppose they do it in other ways, but does that, like you said, it becomes a bit easier to entice coaches over there and stuff. Do you look at almost selling the project to anyone? Are you focusing on Malaysian coaches, or like yourself, is there opportunities for other British people to come over?
Yeah, I've interviewed a couple of British coaches. I've interviewed a few Spanish coaches also. The only issue is the visa, and getting that granted for these guys to come and work here. So at the minute, we have hired a couple of coaches from overseas, but they have been coaches that are currently in Malaysia, married to a Malaysian wife. I really am pushing to try and bring in some foreign coaches. That for me would be the next step. If I could do that in the next sort of 6 to 8 months, by the end of the year, I'd be delighted to bring in another couple of coaches from Spain, to boost our profile and really just sort of cement that relationship with the club and with the community here.
And is your Spanish coming along then? Are you doing those interviews in Spanish, or where are you up to now?
No, you know what? Actually, I've dropped the Spanish since I got here, because I've been trying to learn the Bahasa, the Bahasa Melayu. So I've been practicing my Bahasa Melayu more than I have my Spanish. But I still drop in when I speak to the guys back in Spain. I still drop in and out. I try my best. It's normally met with them responding back to me in English, so I'm unsure.
Puts it down on it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not too sure. At least I understood it.
And in terms of, I think we probably touched upon it last time I spoke to you, but in terms of the style of play in the football, from the range of people that I speak to, speaking to someone the other week about the South African style of play, and they very much play with defence and attack, but there isn't much midfield. Are you trying to, obviously Spanish teams and players are well known for their possession style games. Is that what you're trying to incorporate in these Malaysian players, or are they sort of have their own sort of methods?
Yeah, no, I very much you know, I'm like I say, Villarreal have a very unique methodology because they're not a Valencia, they're not a Sevilla, they're not a, you know, Villarreal, for all they've done, they appreciate they are a feeder club, you know, and that's just unfortunately where they sit in the food chain. So they have a very unique sort of approach, which is good for me. It's very flexible, you know. I'm not set that we have to do this, we have to do that. I as a technical director, as a coach, I have my own ideas and I have my own thoughts on player development and the best way to do things. So no, we really are pushing that. I mean, there's a million and one factors that affect the style of play over here. You know, facilities being one. You know, the fields that aren't the nicest. As much as they are artificial, they're still cheaply made and quickly put together.
Yeah.
So I mean, these fields aren't the nicest fields. That's an issue. The other issue you have is, of course, the climate and the weather. Where, you know, this weekend you're looking at me just now. I'm looking slightly more red than I should, because, you know, it's 37 degrees out there, and you've got players trying to play a game of football. So again, that really affects the style of play. You can't really go, you know, go for it. We can't go and press. We can't go and do this. You know, it helps me though, because it means, you know, you have to retain possession. You have to be clever, and it becomes a game of the brain. You know, and working together as a collective unit, which fits with my philosophy and my ideology. So we're trying to do the right things, but as with anybody coming into a new role, you know, these guys never had the direction before. So I'm trying to convince the coaches just now this is the right thing to do. And we can slowly see it. You know, the last month, I think I've had 3 or 4 phone calls with the director who, whether he's been at training or he's been at a game, and he seems to be really impressed with the direction in which things are going and you know, how it looks on the eye on the field. So as long as we can keep on doing the right thing and promoting the correct ideas, and yeah, then we'll be fine. But there are definitely a few stumbling blocks in terms of style of play. Nobody really has a set style of play. It's a very I wouldn't say a lethargic game, but it's a slower game. It's a slow pace due to the climate and the facilities.
Yeah, I suppose if there isn't a particular style, it almost gives you a blank canvas to sort of introduce a new method and impose your tactics really on a group of players.
Yeah, I mean, I came in and was completely overwhelmed at the fact that there was nothing in place previous. But by the same token, it gave me that blank canvas. You know, sometimes it's good to have a little bit of a framework to tweak and to work with and to bring your own ideas into. But you know, at the same time, I probably never seen it at the start. But I was incredibly grateful to have that clean slate to come in and bring my ideas to the table with.
And you've obviously got a lot of experience now working with the youth teams and younger groups throughout your career. But you touched upon that spell at Penicuik Athletic as an assistant manager, and obviously working with your more experienced or older generation of footballers, shall we say. How would you compare that to, you know, footballers who are hoping to be the next big thing or hoping to turn professional, to the ones who, am I right in saying Penicuik at the sixth tier of Scottish football at the time, to players who have almost, all right, they've admitted they're not going to get to that top stage, but they're still doing this, and it's a very different environment, isn't it? How did you sort of adapt between the two?
Yeah, it's even just in your approach, you know, it's we have to win on Saturday, you know, and it. So I think it's good to have that. You know, you've got that week to week focus where it's very much right this week. You know, this is the focus, and you keep everybody aligned with that, and you don't look too much at the bigger picture, because it. I mean, like you said, for these guys are now, with the exception of the 16, the 17, the 18-year-olds that you're bringing through into the team, who do have potential to then go and play elsewhere. The vast majority of these guys are going to sort of play around that level for the foreseeable. That's the reality. So it's trying to keep them focused with that week to week, and not get hung up on the bigger picture. But it's good as well, these guys they play football for the love of the game. They they're working during the day, and then they're there in the evening. They're giving up their Saturdays with their family to come and play. And okay, there's money involved, but these guys are doing it for the love of the game. But I mean, it's a totally different beast. When you're managing those expectations, you're managing up. You're dealing with chairman. You're dealing with directors. You're dealing with supporters on the touchline. You're having to walk past them to get into the changing rooms at half time, and it's a different beast altogether. Whereas here, it's not that it's more laid back, and never a manner in which I would approach my work, but you're looking long term. So you're always looking at a 3-year plan, minimum 3-year plan all the time here. So that you have that little bit of of wriggle room, and you are looking at the longer term with these players, and you're trying to integrate new ideas, and people are going to be more open to these ideas than they would be in the senior game, because at the end of the day, these guys, they just want to come and play 5-a-sides. Realistically, they don't want to stand on the field and have Kurt Hare telling them, go here, do this, do that.
Yeah.
They've been at work all day. They just want to come and have fun. They want to be in the changing room. So again, you've got that, but here, you get a little bit more. You can introduce new ideas, and you can make things a little bit more sort of. You can be a little bit more obvious in your in how you delegate what you're trying to do. So wearing both hats. Wearing both hats is it's fun. It's fun, but again, it's given me a rounded experience of how to coach at different levels, what sorts of sessions I would do, the focus, like I say, even the messages I would give, my terminology changes. Everything is different, when you're put into that environment. So it's been good to be able to wear both hats. It's been a really good learning experience for me.
And you touched upon the current Villarreal Malaysia Academy has a 3-year target. Realistically, if we push it to even further down the line, 5 years, 10 years down the line, where do you see the current Villarreal Malaysia Academy? What are the realistic goals, or even in a dreamland, where do you see it going? Do you see someone potentially breaking into the Villarreal team in Spain? Is that like the ideal goal at the end of the line?
Yeah, I mean that's where we want to be. We want to be. We want to be able to send a player to Spain, and we want that player to, spend 15, 20 years playing with Villarreal, winning Champions League titles, or make them 100 million and move on to Real Madrid, Barcelona. That's what we want to do. That's at the minute it may seem unrealistic, but ultimately, that's the end goal, and that's what we need to work towards. To work towards anything else would be silly. So yeah, we are working towards that end. We have players that go over to Spain every year. We go over and we compete with the Spanish Academy and in in-house tournaments over in Villarreal also. So we're doing all these things to try and get there with it. But that's definitely the end goal, is for me to send them to Spain. But I'd also like to think that we can make a big improvement to Malaysian football as a whole, through this relationship. I'd like to bring in coaches from overseas. I'd like to bring in Spanish coaches and educate the local coaches here. I'd like to see players leave us to go and play for the national team or the national program. again, that sort of drove me to come back here, was because I could see the potential in improving football in the nation, in the country. I see the potential. I see the passion they have. I see the incredible talent some of these players have. So that's on a personal level, I want to improve football for the people of Malaysia in Malaysia. As a man working at Villarreal, I want to sell a player for £150 million if I can to PSG, Man City. That's, and again, working towards both ends at the minute.
And I suppose compared to your previous roles in your career, it's often been season to season, contract to contract. And obviously you're looking to progress and pick up as much experience for the next qualification. For perhaps the first time in a while, or perhaps the first time in your career, it seems like this is a proper long-term project that you can really get your teeth stuck into. And I can imagine that you're looking to stay here for long-term as well and build a real good project here.
Yeah, it's, I've always sort of, it's not that I get, itchy feet or things like that, but I always seem to have gone sort of, season to season, and it is sort of, two a season here, 2 seasons here, and things like that. The thing is, though, it's always been progressions in my career that, so to that end, I don't really regret those decisions, and they've led me to where I am now. But now, and sort of we touched on that, yeah, I think in this role, you can't come into a role like this as a technical director. You cannot come into this role and give yourself 1 or 2 years. You have to look at a bigger picture. I enjoy life here. Life on this side of the world is fantastic. The quality of life is incredible. I really do enjoy being here. And the plan at the minute for me is certainly to stay here and make this a success long term. 100%, yeah.
And give us an insight. You touched upon it there. It's an enjoyable life away from the job. Although it sounds like your job is 24/7. In your spare time, give us a bit of an idea of what Malaysia is like, what the nightlife's like, what's the hot spots and stuff. You're obviously enjoying it there in your second spell. So give us an idea of what you enjoy.
Yeah, no, everything, like I said earlier on, you have a complete hot pot of all these races and religions, which is great, because then when you combine all that together, you also get different foods from all over the world, and the food here is like nothing else. The food here is incredible. I absolutely love going for food. Whether it's the markets, a nice restaurant, whatever it be. That's something that I'll always do. And there's very much a culture as well, eating out here. So, it's everywhere you want to go. It's always lively. It's always busy. It's really nice. It's good. So, I enjoy that. I enjoy doing that. Nightlife here is also really good. When you get the time. Again, in a city the size of Kuala Lumpur, every place is going to be busy every night of the week, and I think that's something as well which I'm starting to come to terms with now. The weekends are normally taken up by games, but if I can find myself an evening during the week free after training to go into the town, to go into the city, and maybe catch up, get a meal or whatever, then it's as good as a Saturday out there. Everybody's around. It's the job is 24/7, but the lifestyle, like I say, the weather, everything's outdoors. You've got all the parks, and you do get time off. You're only an hour from Thailand, Singapore. You want to go away for the weekend. It's not difficult, and it really is a great place to be. I'm grateful for the opportunity to come back, because I could sense that in the first 3 months I was here last time, that it's a beautiful place with beautiful people, and a beautiful culture. So grateful to be experiencing that now.
And what would you say to footballers and coaches in Britain who are perhaps feeling their opportunities are saturated over here and them haven't quite thought about playing away from home? What would you say to someone who's potentially got the option or looking into it?
Home's always going to be there. You know, go for it. Don't be scared of the failure. You know, don't live with that regret. It's even if you don't do it for yourself as a football player, as a football coach, do it for yourself as a person. Because worst comes to worst, you know, and you last a short time, and you have to go back home with your perceived tail between your legs. You're going back a better person. You're going back with enriched experiences, and you know, all these people. That the reality is that people are watching you from afar, envious that you've done it. So no, my advice to anybody would be that home's always going to be there. You know, don't be scared. You'll be a better person for it. Understanding the football cultures across the globe, social cultures across the globe. It's things like that are priceless. You know.
No, brilliant advice. And last question for me, Kurt. We're speaking, obviously, you're 7 hours ahead in terms of time. The Euros are 5 days away. Are you going to be getting up at 3 a.m. to watch Scotland? Or?
I am. I'm going to be watching on Saturday, and then I fly home next week to go to Scotland, Switzerland. So,
all right, nice.
I'll be in Germany. I'll miss the first game, so I'll have one 3 a.m. But yeah, I'll be home for the rest. I'll be in Germany, thankfully.
Fair play, fair play. Looking forward to it, I presume, yeah?
Can't wait. Really looking forward to it, yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. See the family as well, you know, talk about my nieces and nephews and stuff. So to come back and see them, it's been, you know, since October now. I really am looking forward to it. Yeah, I've got a lot planned for when I'm home. I've got a few club visits to do, and I'm going to go into a couple of clubs as well. And so, no, really, I'm excited to get back.
Well, I wish you the very best for the next few weeks, and for the future as well over in Malaysia and with the Villarreal Academy. Appreciate you coming on, Kurt, especially at this late time for you. And hopefully we'll catch up soon and we'll watch your journey progress. Thanks very much.
No, thank you very much for having me back on. It's like you say, four long years, but delighted to have the opportunity to come back on and speak to you again. Top man, and I love the work you're doing. So it's always an honour.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much, Kurt. We'll catch up soon. Cheers, pal.
Come on.